4 recent animated films coming out as we approach the end of summer here. Let's talk about DC League of Super Pets, Luck, the Sea Beast, and Chickenhare and the Hamster of Darkness. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my kids' reviews for DC League of Super Pets, which is in theaters right now, soon to be streaming on HBO Max in just a few weeks. We've got Luck on Apple TV Plus and a pair on Netflix as well, The Sea Beast and then Chickenhare and the Hamster of Darkness. But before we get into all of these reviews, I do want to welcome you to Dan Reviews It. Thanks for finding this video. We've got plenty of movie and TV reviews on the channel here, and when there's a big kids movie out like the Minions or Buzz Lightyear, I will do its own video for that. But on occasion, there's a lot of more small releases on some of the streaming services, and so I usually lump those in together. And I missed the League of Super Pets the first couple of weeks it was out, so I figured, you know what, it's going to be streaming soon enough, so we'll just lump it in with all of these guys. So, like I said, the other 3 streaming right now on either Apple TV Plus or Netflix, DC League of Super Pets in theaters now. So let's start with that one since it is sort of the hottest one of the bunch. This is essentially taking a lot of the DC superheroes that you know and love, and putting them in this, I guess it's in canon, judging by the tag scene, which we won't really get into, but I guess maybe it's canon or something. But anyway, John Krasinski is voicing Superman here. And we've also got Keanu Reeves as Batman, Mark Maron playing Lex Luthor, Olivia Wilde doing Lois Lane, and then Jamila Jamil doing Wonder Woman. So I don't know. I didn't really think this was part of really the universe, but then Dwayne Johnson basically is the voice of Krypto, who is Superman's dog. He also goes by Superdog and Bark Kent, and there's a whole host of that. But in a tag scene at the end, he voices Black Adam's dog, and of course Dwayne Johnson is going to be in the live-action Black Adam movie. So, look, none of these other actors are doing their counterparts in the live-action stuff, so who knows what they're doing. But anyway, I think the main point of this movie really is just to get kids into the DC universe, because the track record lately with DC has been spotty at best. You know, you've got the Batman, which was pretty well received. You've got the Suicide Squad, the second one, that was very well received as well. But then a lot of their movies are just all over the place. Hot mess. That last Wonder Woman was terrible. So anyway, it's a foray maybe for DC and Warner Brothers to kind of get kids to be aware of these characters early on, so when their movies come out, oh, cool, we want to see them now. So other than Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, though, you've got Kevin Hart. Of course, you can't have a Dwayne Johnson movie without Kevin Hart these days, so he plays Ace. You've got Kate McKinnon as Lulu, who is the evil guinea pig pet of Lex Luthor, and she is sort of trying to stop the rest of the quote-unquote super pets from freeing all of the superheroes that she has captured. But you've also got Vanessa Bayer, Natasha Lyonne, Diego Luna, Thomas Middleditch, a lot of voice talent going into this movie. So right off the bat, I didn't quite understand what was going on with this movie and why it needed to exist other than, to connect kids to the DC franchise, because Kevin Hart, who, I like, he's fine. I think he's better in live action roles. He doesn't do anything different with his voice, anything fun. It's just Kevin Hart. He's screaming, he's doing the Kevin Hart thing. It works for me okay on the live action, but the main problem with the beginning of this movie is a lot of it is that theme of, oh, what do your pets do when you're not home? Well, we already did that with 2 Secret Life of Pets movies, which, by the way, Kevin Hart is in. So it made no sense that he was taking part in this, because I feel like he already kind of did that whole thing, right? So the hook here clearly is the superhero capabilities of the pets and the theme of, okay, tying it into the superheroes we already know and love from the DC universe. And in fact, it's not just called League of Super Pets. They put it in the name. DC League of Super Pets is the full name of the movie. So we get it. They really want us to be involved with these characters. But as a result, because we already did The Secret Life of Pets, and that's certainly far from the only movie of animated fare where there's been animals, talking and doing things. We've seen that plenty of times, but it strikes me because of that Kevin Hart connection and because it was so recent. The second Secret Pets movie came out right before COVID. The first one was maybe 2016. So within the last 5-6 years, we've gotten 2 of those movies. I will say some of the humor works. Dwayne Johnson is having a really good time with the character. Although I would say most of the best jokes and gags were in the trailer. I always say I don't watch trailers because they give away too much of the movie and yada yada, but I do take my nephews to a lot of kids' movies, and so I do actually see more kids' trailers than anything. And almost all the best jokes in this movie were in the trailer. So I didn't really get a ton of guffaws during the movie. And the other thing is, and I like these actors, I do. Dwayne Johnson's fine. Kevin Hart is fine. But they aren't doing anything to distinguish themselves. I would say the best voice work in the movie, Kate McKinnon definitely could be on the nominated list there. I don't think she's the best, but if you said Kate McKinnon, I wouldn't say that's, a bad choice. She's fine. We know she can do different voices from her work on SNL, but I do think this is probably the path that her career is going to be taking more than anything after SNL, because her live action movies have really, for the most part, not done that well, or she's been such a very minor part of them, like Yesterday. But so she may, be more with the voice work. But I would say Keanu Reeves' Batman I thought was great. Krasinski is a good Superman, but you can tell it's him. But Keanu Reeves, I think, changes his voice enough. He does that sort of gravelly, deep thing that, like the Christian Bale and Robert Pattinson Batmans do. But I think Vanessa Bayer and Natasha Lyonne steal this movie. I think they're the funniest characters, and because they're not The Rock or Kevin Hart, we didn't really see a lot of them in the trailer. So most of their jokes were fresh. And Vanessa Bayer, I think she is wickedly talented. She was on SNL, of course, as well, and did a lot of voices there. Natasha Lyonne really isn't doing much different, but she's not such an A-lister that people would say right away, oh, that's Natasha Lyonne. Really, unless you watch Russian Doll or saw her host SNL, a few months ago, I don't know that you'd pick her voice out of a crowd, really. I happen to really like that show, Russian Doll, so I knew it was her, but I thought their sort of back and forth was very funny. They're sort of like in the league of unsure about themselves, Superpets, that, the other pets have to kind of make them aware of their powers and that sort of thing. So for me, they were the best part of the movie comedically, and then voice-wise, I did really enjoy Keanu Reeves' Batman. But really, this movie, it seems to exist only to allow kids to fully embrace the DC universe, so that when the live action counterparts come out, they can say, oh, I know him from the Superpets movie. I got a few laughs, but for a movie like this, it should have been more. And really, I didn't even love the Secret Life of the Pets movies that much. So if this is sort of a ripoff or a take on that, I can't even grade it quite as high. So I'm going to leave the DC League of Super Pets with a C-. I could see maybe going straight C with it, but it didn't have enough to keep it different, other than, okay, let's give them superpowers. In fact, you could say, really, all of these movies, and I'll get into each one specifically, but all of these movies are not completely original and unique. They all borrow from several different things. Right? So next we're going to talk about Luck on Apple TV Plus, and this is produced by Skydance, but the ads keep saying, from the visionary behind Toy Story and Cars. So yes, indeed, John Lasseter, who had a big Me Too thing a few years ago and exited Pixar because of it, is producing this movie. I think it's his first one since leaving Pixar. And so, I was talking about just a moment ago, all of these movies sort of are riffing off of different things. And we'll get into the plot in a second for Luck. But the world building here is very, very similar to Monsters University and Monsters, Inc. and Inside Out, 2 Pixar movies that John Lasseter certainly had a big hand in. The other thing I want to point out is that John Ratzenberger, who for years and years, decades really, was known as the good luck charm at Pixar. He was in every Pixar movie, the first, I think, 18 of them or something. He voiced Ham in the Toy Story franchise. He was P.T. Flea in The Bug's Life. He is in this movie, but he was not in any movie starting with Soul over at Pixar. He wasn't in Soul, he wasn't in Luca, he wasn't in Turning Red. So that said to me, okay, so he wasn't necessarily Pixar's good luck charm. He was John Lasseter's good luck charm. And so with his exit to the studio, Ratzenberger left as well. And the studio tried to cover that up for a little bit. They were like, oh, yeah, he's sort of in one of the crowd scenes in Soul. But then it turned out that was a lie. So anyway, so for fans of the Pixar movies that were sort of looking for, John Ratzenberger in those last few movies, that's why he's not in there, I think. Because he is loyal to Lasseter, and he went over to do this movie called Luck. So anyway, he's just producing it. It was directed by Peggy Holmes and written by Keel Murray, who I'm not familiar with. But anyway, Peggy did a lot of more choreographed stuff. She did a lot of like Broadway stuff. She did some of the animated and live action movies over at Disney, including like the Country Bears and the original Newsies and stuff like that. So that's sort of where her bread and butter is. But I don't know if this is her debut at directing, but she is the main director here. And basically the plot is about this gal, Sam Greenfield, who has turned 18 without any kind of family. She was born and raised in the foster care system. So when she turned 18, they sent her out on her own. She is voiced by Eva Noblezada, I'd like to say. And so she is, down on her luck. She's looking for, anything. And she has bad luck. She's a bad luck individual. And she has an off chance meeting with this cat who gives her a lucky penny, it turns out. And that's Simon Pegg voices him. That's Bob is the name of it. But basically, through some circumstances, she ends up in like this good luck world of leprechauns and such, and she disguises herself to kind of infiltrate that world and get the lucky penny back, because it gets lost, and so they must figure out how to get this thing back and bring her luck back so she can help this gal that's like 12 or 13 or something in the foster care system. Which, by the way, okay, monsters stuff, Inside Out, we talked about that, but also the foster care stuff here is very, very reminiscent of Meet the Robinsons, which is not Pixar, but it's Disney. So, but all right, other voice actors here: Jane Fonda, Whoopi Goldberg, Lowell Howery, Flula Borg, and like I said, John Ratzenberger. This movie is actually pretty cute. Like I mentioned, it's not wholly original in terms of the world building, but I will say that I think what they did with the Luck universe was very interesting and funny. They had a lot of fun with the different mechanisms and how luck works. I'm not going to say all of it made sense. That is one thing that the Pixar geniuses do very well, is whatever world they build, it usually makes sense. I can't say that everything in this movie made complete sense. Especially her sort of going undercover as a leprechaun when she's like, 5'5" or whatever she is, normal person height, and everyone seems to be believing it. So I think there were more clever ways maybe around that, but whatever. The bottom line is I actually enjoyed watching this movie a lot, even though it's not completely original. But good voice work from the lead, who I'm unfamiliar with, and great voice work, of course, from Simon Pegg. Funny as always. He's one of those guys who he definitely has, a specific accent and a specific voice, but there's a lot of guys sort of with that type of accent that I wasn't positive it was Simon Pegg right away. I did have to look it up, and then it made total sense, but I was like, is this, there's like a whole host of people I went through in my head, like, okay, sort of maybe sounds like this guy, but no, he does a really good job with it. And the chemistry with the two characters is great. I really liked the companionship there, the camaraderie, and all of that stuff. And then when John Ratzenberger came in, I was like, okay, now it feels like a Pixar movie, even more so, with that. But look, it's not great. It's not completely original, but I enjoyed watching it. I got some laughs from it, and I do like sort of that world that they built with it. So I will leave Luck with a B. I thought about a B-, but you know what? It was very cute. I think if it was Pixar, it might be a B- because we expect more, right? But from Skydance Studios, sure, this is, top tier for them, I guess. All right, I think they do the, or no, I was going to say they do the Ice Age, but I think that's something else that, sounds similar. Anyway, let's go over to Netflix for our last two. The Sea Beast is up first. This features voice talents of Carl Urban and Jared Harris, among others. But it tells the story of a young orphan girl who joins a group of sea monster hunters on their search for the elusive red bluster. And the girl, again, somebody I'm not familiar with, Zaris Angel Hater is her name, and again, completely unfamiliar there. But for hundreds of years, these sea monsters have wreaked havoc in the town, and in response, the sailors head out to try and defeat them. But now we're in the present day, and this was where this movie gets to be a lot like How to Train Your Dragon, because now we're going to be friends with the sea beast, and they're going to be kind of our pet and all of that stuff. So again, not original in plot, but here's where this movie really shines, is in the design of the characters. Really cool. And the script is great because it allows this movie to be a lot of different things. Much like How to Train Your Dragon, it's got a lot of action adventure, it's got some humor, it's got a lot of sort of like morals about family and that kind of thing. Again, all things we saw in How to Train Your Dragon. I'm not saying it's not, but I think this is where Netflix animated movies should be going. We'll talk about the Chickenhare movie in a moment. But this is, I think, they've really come up with a lot of good animated movies. They've come up with some really bad ones too. I gave Marmaduke an F earlier this year. But with this, and some of the ones I did late last year, like Vivo with Lin-Manuel Miranda writing the music for that, like that was really good. They really go, I feel like, unnoticed, because their track record with animated movies is not that of Disney Plus, or obviously anything that goes into theaters or anything like that. So it's almost like they get sort of brushed under the rug. But I urge you to seek some of these out. The background stuff is really, really well done here. It's very crisp. I love the animation. And this isn't a style that I particularly, glom onto usually, but I thought it was very, very beautifully animated. I like the design of the characters. I think Carl Urban is a great voice actor. Here, another one from Star Trek. We had Simon Pegg, and now we're doing Carl Urban, but from the recent Star Trek movies. But yeah, I like the morals here. The script here is very good. My big complaint about it, and the reason it's not higher, is because of that lack of originality. But this is definitely up there with some of the best animated movies I've seen this year. I'm going to leave the Sea Beast with a B+. So next we will talk about Chickenhare and the Hamster of Darkness. And this falls not quite into the Marmaduke category, of course. It's not an F, and it's better than the League of Super Pets, actually. But it falls somewhere sort of in the middle here. And essentially, this is a ripoff of Indiana Jones and action-adventure movies like that. Maybe a little Goonies in there. A lot of the 80s. And look, this all makes sense because, people that are directing now and writing now grew up 30 years ago in the 80s, and 40 years ago now, I guess, but they grew up on these kinds of movies, and so the tone and the script and even the design of the characters and stuff sort of all emulates that. And it's not even original for animated, because in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, one of them is Indiana Jones. I don't know which one, but one of them's dressed as Indiana Jones, the other one's dressed as Magnum PI. So it's like, we already sort of did that in the animated once, but the basic plot here is a brave young animal explorer known as Chickenhare, who, yes, is half chicken and half rabbit, teams up with two trusty friends to find a powerful artifact before his greedy uncle can get his paws on it. And this is sort of the exception to the rule with voice actors. There's really nobody here of note, and I will say that's actually a bit refreshing. Because I can only do so much like Kevin Hart voice acting stuff. Like Carl Urban and Simon Pegg, like, their names, but you wouldn't say that their voices are so recognizable, or anything like that. Now, yeah, some of the side characters in Sea Beast, Whoopi Goldberg, okay, it's Whoopi, but here I didn't really recognize anybody. And I think that can maybe be to its benefit a little bit, because it does bring you into that world a little bit. And I will say, it's probably got the quickest runtime of all of them. I think it's only 92 minutes or something like that, but it gives us, enough of that action adventure stuff that kids that maybe are too young for the Indiana Jones franchise, or just, kids that passed it by because of was from the 80s. I think they could find something enjoyable about this that maybe they have not seen before. For parents, we're going to know, I'm not a parent, but I'm an adult. And, I could see everything coming every step of the way. This movie of all four held the least amount of surprise, I would say. So that's definitely a negative there. But look, it's cute. It was funny when it needed to be. The action was fine. I think Sea Beast did most things better than this movie, if not all things. But look, for a rainy day Saturday movie, something to find on Netflix, this could certainly scratch the itch. And I didn't even mention the Mitchells and the Machines yet. I can't do an animated movie review about Netflix movies without talking about that. That, to me, is their crowning achievement. But I really do think, with things like the Sea Beast and Vivo, they're definitely upping their game for the animated movies. You just have to kind of seek them out. You have to look for them, which is a little unfortunate. But I will leave Chickenhare and the Hamster of Darkness with a C+. All right, so that will do it. Like I said, look for the DC League of Super Pets on HBO Max before too long, or if you're watching this video after mid-September, it's probably already up there. And the other ones you can get now on your streaming services. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.